Hello, it's Miss Pensinger, and this is a Scratch tutorial. The topic of this video is absolute motion. Absolute motion is when you are moving a sprite to a specific spot on the stage. It doesn't matter where the sprite started or what the sprite has done, you want it to go to a specific spot. So we're going to look at the code that you can use to do that. The first code for absolute motion is the go-to block. So I'm going to drag it over here, and let's say I want to move the cat to this corner. Remember, I have a cheat sheet down here, and I know that my cursor is currently at x 176 and y negative 100. Remember, the stage is an XY grid with the center about here-ish, and so this tells me I'm 194 steps away from the center of X and 134 steps down. So roughly there. 191, negative 140. Okay. So now when I double click on this block, my sprite will go. So whatever other code I have, I use this block and it'll take it to a specific location on the stage. But what if I don't want to change both X and Y? What if only X is absolute or only Y is absolute? Scratch has a code for that. I can use the set X2 block or the set Y2 block independently. So perhaps I'm running a game and something has happened. Maybe it's the next level or something, and I want the sprite to go to the left-hand side of the screen. But I want it to stay at the same height. So in a sense, I want it to move just like this. And it might be down here, and it might be up here, but I want it to move straight to the left. So I can do that simply using this X block, and I can set X to negative 230, and anytime that code is enacted, the sprite will go to the left-hand side of the screen and it will stay where it was vertically. The Y value doesn't change. So perhaps the Y value is controlled by the user or is dependent on some other things. So I don't have to change it. I don't have to know it to be able to move the sprite all the way to an absolute spot on the screen. I can do the same thing with Y. I can set Y to 130. So it'll go up. So perhaps the user is moving the sprite along and I'm not really sure where it's going to be, but something happens, I can raise it to the top of the screen with the same horizontal orientation. Make sense? X, Y, they work together in this block, and you can set it independently using these blocks. So we've looked at set X, we've looked at set Y, and we've looked at go to XY. That was awful fast. Perhaps I want more control over how fast my sprite moves to that absolute location. I can do so by using the glide block. So I can use the same numbers, or any numbers, to control how fast my sprite moves to my absolute location. Still pretty quick. Maybe I want it to go a little slower. By making the number of seconds bigger, I can make it take longer for my sprite to arrive at the absolute destination that I am sending him to. Very handy when timing matters. So we've talked about how to move the sprite to a specific location on the screen. The final piece of absolute motion is how to point it in an absolute direction. The point of absolute motion is that regardless of what has happened to the sprite, you know that this command is going to look the same and have the same results no matter what. So we're going to grab point and direction. And regardless of what has happened to the sprite or which way he's pointing, when I say point in direction, he'll point in the direction I say. And I can use these 4 drop-down options, and it will rotate my sprite all it's doing is rotating the costume that the sprite is wearing. So if I change costumes, it might look a little bit different. I can also input my own directions if I want something a little different. And that's how I can control rotation. Absolutely.